webinar series, Trust Building in Times of Crisis. I am Manon. I'm the Communications Officer for the Trust Building Program of Initiatives of Change. I'm very excited about today's session, also a little nervous, I must say, so bear with me. The topic of today is leading through example. Actually, I'm really curious to find out where you guys are all calling in from. I am in Tarifa, in south of Spain, where Europe and Africa come together. So in the back of my screen, I have a beautiful view on Morocco today, clear skies. I'm reminding you that we are recording this session. It means that you can take a look at it again afterwards or share it within your network. And throughout the presentation, you can ask questions in the question and answer section on the bottom of your screen. If you see a question that you really like, you can upvote it. That means it will get to the top of the list and we will get to see it better. Because there might be a lot of questions rolling in. So if you upvote it, we get a clear view on the questions everyone would like to see answered. And since we only have 1 hour together, let's get started. Everyone who is new to Initiatives of Change, welcome. We are a worldwide movement of people of diverse cultures, diverse background. We are active in 44 countries and with 80 years of trust building experience and reconciliation efforts. We believe that that if you want to change society, you have to start with changing yourselves. So that's why we're working on. One of the focus areas we have is trust building. And we have the International Trust Building Program, which I'm the communications officer of. And we focus on the divides in society today. We are active in 3 countries at the moment, in Kenya, in Canada, and in France. And we're working on the breakdown of trust in those communities. And because of the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus, it's not possible to continue with all the efforts we are doing on the ground in these countries. So we decided to start with the webinar series online so that we can gain the momentum for the trust building programs, hold the momentum, and also to connect with our network worldwide and to invite new people to the network. So today's speaker is Suresh Vazirani, and many of you might know him as the President of Initiatives of Change. But also he's the founder and chairman of TransAsia Airbag Group. It's India's largest multinational medical diagnostics company. And one of the last things on the track record is related to the COVID-19 crisis, as they are developing several COVID-19 test kits. And one of the things inside is an antibody test to show if you've had the virus. So maybe you haven't even noticed, but with this test, you can show that you actually have the antibodies. I believe that Suresh is a perfect speaker about the topic leading through example, because he's a successful entrepreneur and he has many years of experience with IofC. So Suresh, I would like to give you the floor and invite you to speak and to inspire us. And everyone, as I said, please put your questions in the questions and answer box. Thank you very much. Enjoy.
Thank you, Manon. I must say you set the bar very high. So let me see how far I can come there. Well, I hope everybody, wherever you are hale and hearty and safe, because in today's time, that's a big asking, to stay safe and healthy. I'm sure each one of you realize that we are living through very unprecedented times. Not in our lifetime, not in our parents' lifetime has there been anything like this. I'm told there have been pandemics before, but not in the last 3 generations. And I believe human memory lasts only up to 3 generations. So we really have no way to understand what happened. And these pandemics don't come with an operation manual. They don't tell us how we should behave, what we should do. We all need to find out what needs to be done and what we need to do. That's tough enough. And at the same time, crisis situations like this bring the best and the worst of human nature. On one side, We see people going out of the way, risking their own lives, like the doctors and nurses and many other people you have seen going out of the way to protect the society. On the other side, there are people who try to exploit the situation to their advantage and in a way harm the society. What should we do as individuals? That's one question that comes to my mind often. We have very little control over what's happening. So how should we deal with it? This is the time, I believe, it's very important for us to connect to our inner self, to our inner voice. We all know about it, but it's the time like this that makes it so useful and so worthwhile, connecting to our inner self, getting our inner compass to lead us, to show us the way. This is the time when trust is a big challenge. Should we trust our government, what they say? Should we trust our employers, whatever they are doing? Should we trust our neighbors? Should we trust our even relatives? That's a question that again comes to. So trust is something that we need to find a way to deal with it. And I personally feel that this is where our inner connect, our inner voice can be a great guide at this time. When the pandemic came in India, especially at that time, there were very few cases in the beginning. As far as early March, we hardly had any cases. And human nature being what it is, first is to deny. So we in India say, oh, India is hot and humid and Indians are strong people. This will not do any harm to us. We are different. That's a typical human response. First is to deny, then is to say, well, maybe a little bit of it, I will deal with it. So initially we had few cases. We said, well, it will go away. It will not bother us. Suddenly in last few weeks, we have seen a huge explosion of numbers, spreading and deaths. And as you know, the healthcare in India is not the best in the world. So even with the few cases that we had, the hospitals were finding very difficult to deal with them. As Manan said that, my company TransAsia is in diagnostic business. So after the initial thinking, we said, do we have a role? Are we meant to do something at this time? And being the largest company in India, we felt that we have the responsibility to find at least some part of the solution to India. But the choices are very limited because we had, most of the people were working from home. There was no way to meet anybody, no way to talk to face. But this is when we as a team, we took up the challenge and we said we have to find a good diagnostic solution for COVID, and that can work for countries like India. That means it should be affordable, easy, and reliable. Because mind you, when India got it, almost the whole world had it. And the companies that we were dealing with in Europe and America, they said, sorry, we cannot spare the test kits for India because we have so much demand from our own countries. And naturally, everybody likes to do something for their own country first. So in spite of being able to send orders, we could not get good quality kits. And testing became a real problem. Fortunately, our R&D team has worked in India and our R&D team in UK and the US. And we have been able to develop a couple of test kits for COVID. And I'll say it has to be reliable and affordable. So even though we were not sure whether it's really at a time like this, when our business is really going through difficult times, our regular business has almost come to zero, should we be investing in this? But again, this is where the inner voice comes in, our inner connect says, we must do the right thing. We have been part of the Indian society. Indian society has supported us. And it's time we should think of them and not only think about ourselves. So we decided to go whole hog, set up manufacturing, set up R&D. And I'm pleased to say that very soon, this will be out in hundreds of thousands of tests across not only in India, but we hope we can also help many other countries who are facing through similar problems. So that's another example of how our inner connect can lead us one day at a time. You can never see what will happen after 1 month, 1 year. But we know that if we do the right thing one day at a time, we will reach somewhere. We'll be able to do something. So that's as far the personal part is saying connected. What concerns me more is our global situation. I'm sure many of you have noticed that in the last few months, there's a huge amount of people saying, let's think about ourselves first. Let me think about myself first. Let me think about my family first, my country first. So unfortunately, last 30 years that the developed globalization, the idea of the one world, it seems to be under threat. Protection is coming in a big way. Every country wants to take care of its own industry, its own people, which is fine. Every country must take care of it. But I do believe that under globalization, the world was a much better place. It was in the last 20 years that countries like India could move almost 500 million people from utter poverty to a reasonable quality of life. There have been huge benefits from the globalization. So worldwide, I believe 2 billion people moved from poverty to a good standard of life. That's a huge achievement. So I do hope that this protectionism and each one for themselves is not going to take the world back into those days where we don't think of the world, where we don't think about the environment, where we don't think about the poor people, and each country lives for themselves. It seems to be coming in, it seems to be a wave. It's not one country. Many countries are starting to talk like that. So I was thinking, as an individual, what can I do? Is there anything I can do to help in this situation where I know something that should not happen is happening? This is where I believe that we as individuals can make a difference to our society, our community, our area, and through that, help our countries thinking, help our leaders thinking, to think big, to think of one world, to think of the people in the other country being as important as the people in our own country. So I do hope and urge each one of you to be first conscious of these forces, to understand where are these forces coming from, why are they coming, and to see how in our own small way we can try to change our community's thinking, our country's thinking. And when each country thinks different, the globalization can again start to benefit the world. So as I said, we are living through difficult times. There's no easy solutions, but our inner voice or inner guidance can help us one day at a time to do the right thing And I do hope and pray that when we are past the current crisis, hopefully in a year and a half, that we'll have a much better world than we have today. So thank you, and I do hope that we can work on it together. If anybody has any question, please feel free to write to me. And I believe as an IFC, as an organization, we must connect and as many people to this idea, as many people to the idea of the one world, and work on it actively. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Suresh. Everyone, I invite you for a moment of reflective silence before we go to the questions. So. Thank you very much again, Suresh, for your words. And we'll go to the question and answer section. As Suresh also named, we are a global network of people, and we're now 101 people from around the world here on the screen. So if your question is being called, please state your name and where you're from, and then we get a bit of an idea where we are all placed. So we're waiting for to find the first attendee to ask your question. Well, there's a lot rolling in, so you're curious, so that's good. That's good to know. All right, Mohan is ready. Mohan, can I invite you to ask your question to Suresh?
Okay. Thank you very much, Suresh. Thank you for the initiatives you're taking at this time. The question from us is, we are going through some of the greatest challenges of our time. What do you see are the opportunities emerging from this period of massive change?
One opportunity I believe each one of us has, which I mentioned, is to reconnect to our inner self and see, in the normal life, we get so busy going around, commuting, traveling. So in a way, last few weeks that we have been kind of locked down has given us opportunity to reflect, think, and same situation for the others too, for the other people. So I believe this is a time to connect to ourselves, but also look at our relationships. Is anything I need to put right in my relationship? As I said, that just as we are going through this, dilemma, so are the other people going through. I found a case like that where I had a strained relationship. Possibly I did something wrong. I don't know. But sometimes I had a thought to do something about it, to reach out to my friend. But somehow, the busyness was a good excuse that I'm busy some other day. So during this lockdown, when I had the time, this thought came again. And I reached out to my friend and said, I'm sorry if I've done something wrong, but I see that, our relationship is not what used to be. And guess what? He said, this is exactly the thought I've been having, that, that maybe I have done something wrong to you. So I wanted to reach out to you and say sorry. So several cases like this has given me an opportunity to really not only connect with my inner self, but also have a better connect with my friends, relationships, put things right, so that we will move forward in a sense of peace and happiness. So that's on the personal level, which I believe is very important, because fortunately we have the time and we have the atmosphere in which we can think and reflect more and more. On the other side, as I mentioned, on the national, some of us get opportunity to participate in webinars, even writing some articles to highlight what's not going right in our country.
Friends are already have Twitter. Yes.
That's another opportunity to see how we can play a bigger role in our societies and communities. So personally, for me, this has been a blessing in that respect.
Thank you very much, Suresh. And I hear you there. That's a blessing if we have the time to reach out to people that maybe we haven't seen or spoken to in a while. So thank you for that. And the next person is ready to ask a question is Talia. Talia, where are you calling in from?
Everyone, I'm phoning in from a small village outside of London in the UK. Thank you very much, Suresh, for your important talk. Your company has demonstrated to be ethical and responsible by creating these affordable COVID-19 tests. So I was wondering, what is your advice to other business owners for them to take an ethical and responsible steps to serve society?
Yeah, of course, when our business came to almost standstill and people are home, the first question comes is, how will the company be able to pay the salaries? That's one question that every company has to face, that money is not coming in. How can we afford to pay the salaries? Which, I mean, every company has its own situation, so I cannot compare. But this is one thing our leadership team got together and I said, well, at this time, people cannot go and get anything else. They can't go another job. They have to live. So that's one thing I would not like to do, is to either not pay salary or pay less salary. I believe that we must pay full salary, because this is the time when people need it most. Not only the money, but also the feeling of security, feeling of comfort. When overall situation is very uncomfortable, we don't want to give people any more reason to be uncomfortable. So we decided to pay full salaries, even though, as I said, there's no income. But I cannot judge for many companies, because I know many other companies have really not able to do it. I do hope that everybody will try to do their best. This is also the opportunity. Many companies do say that people come first. People come before profits. Here is the chance for every company to show that people do come before profits. So that's for me from Talia.
Thank you, Suresh.
Thanks, Talia. Thanks, Suresh. And it's beautiful that you are indeed putting the people first. And it's a great example. And next up, we have Michael. Michael, where are you located at the moment?
Can you hear me?
Perfectly, thank you.
Great. Thanks, Manon. And I'm based in a little village south of London. And hugely grateful to Suresh for his leadership and example at the practical level and at the spiritual level. And I'm wondering, Suresh, how we can, there's been a tremendous spirit of community and solidarity and people looking out for each other, caring for each other, neighbors connecting with each other throughout this pandemic. And I'm wondering how we can globalize. What is IofC's role in globalizing this spirit of community and care and solidarity, continuing in through once the pandemic is over? I just wondered what your reflections might be on that.
People's needs are now at this time on two levels. One is, of course, a physical level. You know, many people are not getting the money that they normally get, so they find difficult to survive. That's one level. Other equally important level is on at the personal level. A lot of people are feeling lonely, uncared for, not, you know, they don't meet anybody. A lot of people are going through sort of depression. And I believe this is where IofC as a community, we can reach out to people who are living alone, lonely, don't have anybody really to connect. And I know many of you are doing that. I know many of people in IofC are making themselves available to talk to people who are going through difficult time, going through depression, feeling lonely, insecure. So this is one thing I'm glad we are doing. I hope we can do more of it. We can make ourselves available to speak to people, show certain amount of empathy and care for the people.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Suresh. So we're well represented in the UK.
Yeah.
Curious, Monica, you're up next. Where you're from? Are you from another place, possibly? Monica, are you there?
Yes, yes. Hello. Sorry about that. I'm from Edinburgh in Scotland. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Right. I see there's a question from Guru Prem from India above mine, how to deal with fear after the lockdown. So I would add that to my question. I see two pandemics, the COVID-19 virus and an epidemic of fear and mistrust. Do you think we could have separated these, or could we do so in the future if we face another pandemic, in order to protect the global community and to maximize efforts in the constructive way?
As I said, these things don't come with operation manual. You never get to see, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3. Each one has to use their ingenuity, find a way forward, find a way to feel secure. And as you said, fear is very real in today's world, because you don't know, you can meet somebody for 2 minutes and you might get the virus. You see, and the media has gone full blast, showing everything that can cause fear. The amount of videos and photographs and stories we get from around the world, I would not blame anybody for not being tremendously fearful. So in such an environment, how do we deal with fear? It's very difficult because there's so many angles to it and nobody knows, nobody has an answer. World Health Authority has no answer. Our Prime Minister has no answer. They themselves are fearful. And fear also can be very infectious. If I talk to somebody with a feeling of fear, and before long, he starts to shiver too. So again, in time like this is our inner strength and our faith that can help us. Faith in our destiny, faith in the belief that I'm here for something in this world. I have a role, I have a part in the world, and I'm meant to play. If I'm meant to play, I'll be here, you know. So developing that kind of a faith is something that can be a great amount of bring peace and joy in our life. If we can connect to that faith and, you know, and as you know, prayer makes a big difference. Generally, I used to pray 1 time a day, but now I feel the need for praying 3 times a day. And I know many of you pray many more times. So prayer and faith are something that's is in today's world is a precious commodity.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you.
Also, in order to share and to suppress the fear, to share the fear, we have I Listen sessions, because we find many people in the network find it very valuable to share with other members to talk about their difficulties. So you're all very invited as well to join those sessions. So thank you again. And next up is Wadia. Wadia.
Hi everyone.
Welcome.
How are you? Hi, Mr. Vazirani. Thank you for your talk. Well, for me, you are an example of starting a great initiative from scratch. We know that you started your business with, remind me, 250 rupees, isn't it? And Lebanon is now going not only through dealing with the COVID and economical threat, like everybody in the world, but through a complete economical collapse due to decades of corruption and theft by our politician, programmed theft. It's threatening the people with starvation, and this is hardly imaginable for a people where we have the highest percentage of holders of university degrees in the region. Anyways, we all know that there is no problem that can be solved without cooperation inside the country and between countries. And this is the main thing we are talking about in initiatives of change. I came back recently from the USA, and I'm happy that it happened right now. Actually, I came back a week ago. And I'm wondering how to think together in the near future about cooperation and expertise exchange. And I thought about your leadership academy that you were conceiving. Can it be also a space of multinational work for knitting solutions for the core needs of humans, which are survival, renewal of compassion? I'm saying it after experimenting the extreme individualism in the USA, which was a shock for me, and creative, collaborative, unselfish problem solving. Thank you.
Good. Wadia, do you know what Frank Bookman used to believe? He used to believe that whoever has a great thought is the best person to do it. So you have this wonderful thought, come and join us and we will do it together.
I am ready and happy and willing to let go what held me away from the IC and IofC before. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up is Daniel Flynn. Daniel, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. And thank you for sharing the message of hope. And I'm here thanks to meeting Howard Grace in London a year ago or so. And I've been a member of a program that was started in Frank Bookman's program in the 30s. So I'm glad to be here. I'm a retired corporate human resource executive. I'm 81 years old and still doing service for organizations like Médecins Sans Frontières in Brussels, for the Quakers, and for the program that started in Bookman's Oxford group in the US 85 years ago. But my question on that basis is simply this. I'm also a member of the Quakers in Business Group. I would hope that this pandemic would call us to encouraging for-profit enterprises to move from for-profit only to serving all stakeholders in an enterprise, customers, employees, sorry, I made a mistake there, suppliers, communities, lenders, and investors, not just investors. I get the sense that you follow that yourself, and but I do pose the question, do you agree? And if so, how can we do that? Thank you.
I certainly not only agree, I believe in that. I believe that the real business of a business is society and not the profit. And fortunately, you have seen that last 20, 30 years, there has been a lot of movement towards that. Many companies have looked at the business from a bigger angle, from the community angle, national angle, global angle, and made a lot of progress in that. So to that extent has been a real positive change in the mindset of the business. A lot of people think beyond profits. A lot of companies think beyond profits. I only hope that this pandemic will not stop that, will not now make people take a U-turn and back to again think only of profits. That's my concern and fear, because every company's profits are under threat. And for their own survival, I do think that many of them will be more focused on profits just for survival. But I do hope that this will not be forgotten, and this philosophy will continue to grow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. The name Frank Boegman has been mentioned a few times, and for the people who are new to Initiatives of Change and haven't heard of him, he is, let's say, the founding father of the NGO. So we'll share with you a link as well so you can read a little bit more about our history. So thank you very much. Next up, Tufi Hakim, I hope I pronounced your name well. Where are you? Are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Manon. I'm actually outside New York in New Jersey. Let me first thank IofC for hosting this very meaningful conversation today. And I thank you, Suresh, for leading by example and reminding us that we each have an inner compass that could help us choose between the right thing and the less desirable outcome and action. Clearly, in this pandemic, as you noted, we have seen the best of us, and yet the polarization that has existed preceded this pandemic seems to have widened. And we see that in the US, and we see it in some parts of the world. And we're reminded that we need to engage open-mindedly in dialogues with the other, to listen, to learn, to be able to understand the fears that are unspoken and hiding within us that sometimes urge us to do things that lead to undesirable outcome. How might we engage in such dialogue with the other and change the view of us versus them so we can together rebuild a shared vision for one interconnected world across this divide? Thank you, Suresh.
Fortunately, in this time of pandemic, there have been a lot of online activities. And I feel that today I'm more connected than in normal times I am, which is again a blessing. First of all, in the normal times, I spend about 2.5 hours in my car commuting. Then, go on for example, if I have to go for a conference to New Delhi, it will take me a whole day. But now on webinars, I can do 5 conferences in a day, So that's amazing, gift of the time. I would say that it has made us a lot more connected, and being able to participate in many more community actions, community talks, discussions. So it shows that, even sitting at home, we can be able to contribute towards thinking in our community, in our society, in our business groups, even our national affairs. So that gives me hope that we are not cut off from the rest of the world. We are still part of it, and now we have an opportunity to connect, though in a different way. I cannot go and shake hands with people, but I can certainly see them on the video and connect with them and keep connected. So it's a different world, but I believe that this also gives us opportunity to see that our communities and our countries, get the right thinking and move forward in the right way. I hope, Tawfiq, that's helpful.
Thank you. Yes, it is.
Thank you very much. And then there's the beautiful environmental benefit of not traveling, not to the different places. So there's a lot less pollution nowadays. So that's a great benefit as well. Thanks for your question. And next up is Kiran Gandhi. I'd like to invite you.
Hi, Kiran.
Hi, Suresh. Yeah, I had a question that, from my observation and whatever in the media I am picking up, that there has been a rupture of trust between political leadership and the common man in most democracies. And I'm wondering, through IofC, what is it that we can do to rebuild the trust? Because I feel that trust is very important for any country to really work in a harmonious way. So if you have some thoughts, I would be happy to hear.
Yeah. Kiran, as I mentioned that, any crisis brings out the best and the worst. So this crisis too has brought up some very good leaders and some very bad leaders. Recently, there was a survey about the trust, about how much people trust their governments. Surprising to note that in many countries, they found that the trust level has gone up. In some countries, it is as high as 75%, which is very, very, probably never happened before. So as in some countries, people find that they can trust their leaders who have really given their best. And in some other countries where I'm sure you know some of those countries, where people feel badly let down. So even whatever trust they had, they've lost that trust. So it's different in different countries, but as I said, that it has created both the records for the highest trust in a government, as well as the lowest trust in a government. But this is where, as I said, that people like us, we need to be more vocal. We need to see where the government is not doing what they should be doing, and see how we can, rally public opinion against it. Try to bring some sense of responsibility from the government. So this makes our role very important at this time, because the situation demands that something happen quickly. Like, in our country, you've seen migrants, about 3 million poor people from cities have walked to their villages, sometimes 1,000, 1,500 kilometers, with their children and their families, walked and walked to reach their village. And unfortunately, as a society, we just kept watching. Some people did help, some people feed them, but nothing compared to the enormity of the problem. And that's one thing that we obviously, the government let down these people very badly. And these are the people who needed some relief, not a big relief, you know, just few dollars to see them through, but unfortunately didn't happen. So in a way, I say that we have our job in India at least cut out to see what we can do, and we must do that. You know. These people have gone to the villages, but again, in the villages, they have nothing to do. Government has announced something. I do hope and pray that they'll get some relief. At the same time, the other countries, we have done a tremendous help for the people. So they're the best and the worst.
Thank you. Thank you, Suresh.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it also makes you realize, right, if you're in another situation, how blessed you are. I think it's also always very good to realize and to see what you can do from that position for others. So thank you very much for sharing that. Up next is Uyendu. Nice to meet you. Are you there? And where are you? Ian, are you there? The mic is open to you. So whenever you make a sound, you're up. All right, let's wait for Ian, and let's first go to Lusa with a beautiful last name, which I don't dare to pronounce. Lusa, where are you?
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great.
Can you give your beautiful last name as well?
Yes, well, a gift from God and my parents, I guess. I'm based in the UK and I serve also on the board of IofC UK. And for me, I guess a question expanding on what Tufik was asking earlier, where we noticed that the pandemic has highlighted and in some cases exacerbated deep societal and systemic fault lines. What advice would you have for any organization wanting to build less unequal and less unjust structures?
Advice on what we can do to create that. Is that what you mean?
And more at a structural and organizational level rather than a personal and individual level.
Yeah. Well, at the organization level, one is to, of course, you know, we can talk about it, but I say that in any organization, it is the people sharing their convictions and the stories of change that can make a big difference. There are a lot of people who talk good, but we need to find people who are doing something good. So I feel even in organizations, we should encourage people to do good and share that with the communities. We need to bring the positivity in the scene today, where there's so much negativity and the fear happening. And when we hear somebody doing good and sharing that, I think that's a great sense of positivity that we inject in our communities. So, Lusa, I hope we can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Uyen, is it working now with your mic? Not yet, I think. All right, Vivek, are you there?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Suresh, thanks so much for that very inspiring talk. You've spoken a lot about the inner world, the inner voice. It would be very helpful to know a little more about your outer world. What is your typical day like, handling so much, making such big, difficult, and probably unknown decisions? So it'd be very interesting to know what your day is like.
Well, I say that I've never been busier than these days of lockdown. And being a global company, so we have companies and people working with us for us in all the way in California, which is 12.5 hours time difference. So when it's morning, it's night there. When it's night, it's morning there. So my day wonderfully goes from 8 in the morning till about 11 at night. But you know, what's more satisfying is that we are able to make a difference. You know, when you feel that you are able to do something, make a difference in a society, and I think you can't think of, you know, how tired you are, or how long you've been working. That's something that's wonderful. So I never feel that I'm doing something exceptional, because I feel it's a great gift, opportunity that we are able to bring bread on people's table across the world. We have 1,800 people, so 1,800 families who are connected with us. It's a very privileged that we are able to help 1,800 people, their families, and through our diagnostic solutions, bring diagnostic solutions to many people, to millions of people across the world. I feel really privileged that God has given this opportunity to be of service to the mankind. I think that's the biggest satisfaction one can have.
Great, thanks.
And I must say that Vivek is not only a dear friend, but also a director in my company, and a person with a great foresight and advice for us.
That's very kind of you to say that. Thanks, Suresh.
Good.
Thanks to both for the good work and having the heart of the company. That's beautiful to hear. We're already up to the last question. Unfortunately, the hour went by very fast. And the last question will be from Veronique.
Hi, Suresh, it's Veronique, Sikora from Switzerland. Thank you so much for your transparency and for sharing your vision of what it means to connect and work collaboratively within our communities and our organizations across borders all around the world today. I especially liked how you spoke about trust, although sometimes I really wonder how we measure the level of trust and the metrics that we use to do that. My question is, it's in the same respect, what is the role of vulnerability in leadership today, in training our leaders today?
Can you tell us from which angle you're talking about, Veronique? Vulnerability in?
I think vulnerability in all that we do. I mean, when we are, well, I'd say that how you spoke just before and answered Vivek's question is somewhat vulnerable, because you're showing your transparency. And very often we are very afraid of, leaders are afraid of showing who they are and what they have been through. And I believe that's one of our roles now in society, is to show up as we are, as who we are, with our strengths and our weaknesses.
Well, I believe our real strength is that we know how to connect with our inner self. And I think that's a great strength, to know that, you can listen to your inner voice, you can connect with your inner compass, and that can tell us what we are meant to do day after day after day. And if you keep doing it the right way day after day, you are meant to reach somewhere. So I believe this is something that we have learned and practicing. If you can share this message with as many people at this time of crisis, as many people we can connect them with their own inner self, I think that can bring, including our leaders, if we can connect our leaders also to their inner self, I think that can be a tremendous answer for these difficult times. Vulnerability, yes, in a way, but also if we know what we are and we are transparent, we are honest with ourselves, I think that can be a tremendous help to to everybody. Thank you, Veronique.
Thank you, Suresh.
Thank you very much, Suresh. Everyone, thank you so much for asking your questions. Unfortunately, we couldn't invite everyone to ask a question live, but as you can see in the chat box, Suresh is very open to answer the questions you still have. You can email him. His email address is displayed there. I'd want to round off because in closing, when you registered for the webinar, you were asked to please contribute what you can to for joining this event. As it is that we are relying on donations to do the work we do. Many very motivated and passionate people around the world are working with IofC, and every gift makes a difference, also the smaller ones. So if you feel moved after this webinar to donate, you can go to the website. In the chat box is the link to the donation page. And so thank you very much. And our fundraising officer, Amy, will love you for it as well. After the webinar, you will receive an email with the link to watch the webinar again, and also with the opportunity for feedback. If you would like to, if you have some tips or questions, then you're welcome to put it there. Also hope that you will join us for the next session that will be with Talia Smith from the Fetzer Institute, and they are a partner as well for the Trust Building program. It will be on the 28th of May at 1 p.m. GMT, like today. So thanks again very much. Thank you, Suresh. I hope you have a beautiful evening. The sun set during the webinar. And thanks again, everyone from around the world. And like you're one of the reasons I'm so happy to work with the organization this beautiful, with all the people internationally.
Thank you, Menon, and all those who made it possible. Greatly appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening, and see you next session. Hey.